You know the vibes. Welcome back to the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K24. The NBA season is now in full flow. We had a big slate of games last night, games you can recreate on NBA 2K24 if you hit the link and get your copy. But as always, I'm here, Mo Moonsey, alongside me as always, the three-time NBA champion, looking sharp as ever in his suit, fresh out of the Staples Center, BJ Armstrong. How you doing, my brother?
Oh man, beautiful, beautiful. Real name, no gimmicks. So we got the first one in the books.
How does it feel to be back in the live action, the NBA season finally being here?
Well, you're trying to get adjusted to the teams, rookies, all the adjustments and changes. So it was good. It was a good first game, nice crowd. Clippers look really good, Mo. They look like a team that you could, especially in the playoffs. This is a team that really, if they're healthy, Mo, they could really cause a problem in a 7-game series.
We had Paul George, 27 points. Kawhi Leonard had 23. I think they had 5 players in double digits as they picked up the 123-111 win over the Portland Trailblazers. What stood out to you about the Clippers? Because, we saw them looking kind of impressive in the playoffs, even though they didn't beat Phoenix with Russell Westbrook. He had 11 points and 13 assists tonight. How do you think that integration with Paul George and now with a healthy Kawhi is going to be as the season progresses?
Well, the thing that stood out immediately when you watch this team is the depth of their team. They have a tremendous amount of depth, especially coming off the bench. I mean, Bones Highland, Plumlee, those guys were coming off, and they really did a really nice job. So you can really see that they're 10 deep, and Nicholas Batum and all of those guys, and they know their role. And besides that, the one thing you talked about Paul George and you talked about Kawhi Leonard, but the leader of the team is Russell Westbrook. And I think this is a really good fit for him. And they look like a team they know their roles, they know kind of where they fit. And I think they know the task at hand. You can tell they're playing with the idea, we're going to get through the regular season. And once they get through the regular season, potentially, possibly, they can get to make a run in the playoffs.
It's a long regular season. We just 81 more games for them to get through. I want to ask you this. What was the atmosphere like in the Staples? I'm not going to call it Crypto Arena, in the Staples Center. What was the atmosphere like? Because we know Lakers fans get rowdy, but Clippers fans traditionally over the years, it's just been people who couldn't get Laker tickets have got Clipper tickets. But what was the atmosphere? Are they building an organic fan base over there for the Clippers?
Well, Mo, they put up pictures in the arena of their new home. I think it's opening, next year.
The Inuit Dome, which has the most toilets of any arena in the world.
And, it was funny. It was funny this year. They had up all the signage this year for the Crypto Center. So it really felt like the Crypto Center this year coming down there. But I think the Clippers are really gearing up for their future because they're going to have their own home arena there. I think it's going to be in Inglewood. If I saw that correctly. So it looks great. I mean, by the way, it looked fantastic. And it looked like it's going to be a really nice facility.
Oh man, I have a weird thing, BJ, where I'm fascinated by stadium designs and arena. Like I watch YouTube videos of like all the stadiums they built for the World Cup, any stadium they're building in the Premier League, all the arenas in the NBA. I just love watching how they're built. And the Clippers one, the fact that they've got the wraparound, one of the biggest video screens in the world that wraps around the entire arena, the fact that the seats are going to be so steep. But anyway, we're not going to talk about the stadium design today. We'll save that for the offseason. Did you manage to catch up on any of the other games from around the league, or were you just busy in the arena?
Games. I saw the Knicks game.
Oh, wait. Before we even get to that, how are we talking about this game you went to and didn't even talk about the other team, the Portland Trailblazers, the New Look Blazers? You got to talk to me about we almost skipped right ahead of Scoot Henderson's NBA debut. Talk to me about the Blazers. What do you see?
It was a tough night for Scoot. I think he ended up being in double figures. He scored a lot of points late in the game when the game was out of reach. But he looked like he's going to be a nice young player. It's going to take him some time. Brogdon really, I thought he played well, and but Scoot was there. The kid Anthony Simons, he looks like a really nice player. The Time Lord, I was there. He didn't look the same in his.
I hope you sent him my regards, though.
He didn't look, but the one thing you did like about the Portland Trailblazers, they have some nice young talent. They have some really nice young players that you can. If I was a playoff team, I would look, especially if they're veterans. You know, you're looking at Jeremy Grant, you're looking at Brogdon. This kid Anthony Simons can play. You're looking at the Time Lord. I'm talking these guys can really come in, I think, and contribute to a playoff level team. But overall, I think they have some nice young pieces, a lot of young players, but some of these guys really have some nice talent, nice potential, and I kind of see what they're doing. I'm not expecting them to be a playoff team or even play meaningful games. However, you can see that this is a team that you probably wouldn't want to play on a back to back.
Were you somewhat underwhelmed by DeAndre Ayton's debut? You know, he's talked all offseason about being dominant,
No,
dominating, 4 points, 5 fouls in 23 minutes.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't because of the following. You know, when you have a big, you got to have good guard play. And DeAndre Ayton is playing with an inexperienced guard right now in Scoot Henderson, right? And DeAndre Ayton, unlike the Time Lord doesn't need plays to figure out how to play and score. Well, DeAndre Ayton needs touches to play and score. So when you have a young guard like Scoot, who's going to be better, I think he's going to be a terrific player. DeAndre Ayton probably would fare better playing with Brogdon than Scoot Henderson right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And to be fair with him. So if you put veterans around DeAndre Ayton and let him play with, Brogdon, Simons, Jeremy Grant, and those guys, I think he fits in better because they'll know how to get him the ball where he needs it. Where on the other hand, with Scoot is he's a drive first penetrating guard and he's trying to get to the basket. And that's not DeAndre Ayton's game. You know, Time Lord had a couple of dunks here that you were like, pretty impressive because he's just playing in the flow of the game. Where DeAndre Ayton, that's not his game. So, but I get it. You know, people are expecting a lot from him, but I think, he just needs to play with veteran players. In particular, he needs to play with a veteran guard.
Well, Scoot Henderson had 11 points, 5 of 11 from the field. Not the most impressive debut. However, it's worth noting that of the recent 19-year-old point guards who were top 3 picks in the NBA draft, LaMelo Ball had 0 points, 0 from 5 from the field. Kyrie Irving had 6 points, 2 of 12 from the field. And both of those guys went on to win Rookie of the Year. And they were an all-star in their second year. So Scoot is no doubt going to improve on that performance. Being thrown in at the deep end is always tough. But you mentioned the Knicks game earlier. Did you manage to catch much of it? Because it had me nervous. I'm not going to lie.
In and out. I saw they were down big, and then they came back. Your Celtics. I know you picked the Knicks to win that game.
The unserious Celtics are back. It was giving me flashbacks of 2023.
Yeah, but it was so I didn't see the end of the game, but I just heard people talking about it. It sounded like it was a pretty exciting finish.
Yeah, well, they had Al Horford coming off the bench. I don't know if that's the lineup they're going to stick with to save his legs. Yeah, they had a kind of a small ball starting 5, if you will, with Derek White, Jrue Holiday, Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis. Jaylen Brown had kind of a shaky night in some parts. Jrue Holiday still going to find his rhythm with this team. He was 1 from 5 from 3, finished with 9 points. He did finish with 3 blocks though. Jason Tatum making that MVP charge, 34 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. But the headline is Kristaps Porzingis, 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocked shots. And there was one moment in the game, he had a little thing with Isaiah Hartenstein where Hartenstein flopped a little bit. And there was a little bit in the game where the crowd was really going at him. Former Knicks player, they were saying F Porzingis, and he just turns up, cashes in a deep 3 and kind of seals it. Because the Knicks were up by 6 with under 4 minutes to go.
Oh, really?
But what really stood out to me down the stretch was Jason Tatum had a couple possessions there. One where he found Jrue Holiday for a layup, one where he found Porzingis for a 3. And it's now at the end of games for the Celtics, it's not just going to be an isolation with Tatum catching the ball on the free throw line and trying to get his own shot. He was looking to be a playmaker for his teammates now, which I think is a difference in late game execution. That could be the difference between winning and losing close games.
Wow. Well, that's a nice win for them on the road. And the opening day, I'm sure the crowd was, they were turned up. I'm sure there in New York. So good win, good start, and it's interesting that they're bringing Al Horford off. That's interesting. I didn't expect that with his leadership and what he does there, but nonetheless, I'm sure people will start panicking after one loss there in New York.
Nah, man, I'm here for it. I mean, well, Al Horford is going to be he's 37 now. He'll turn 38 at the end of this season.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's funny to me is they always do they started doing like year 17 for LeBron in his like 17th season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not doing year 17 for Al Horford? Is it year 17 for Al Horford? He came in 07.
Somewhere around there.
So it's
Usually
year
16,
16.
17, yeah.
So we're doing that. Shall I was around the association and catch you guys and BJ up with what else happened elsewhere? The Rockets, it's going to take some time for their offense to come together because they got absolutely destroyed by the Orlando Magic, 116-86. Jonathan Isaac, who's played 11 games in the last 2 seasons, had a really nice 11 minutes, putting up 11 points and 4 rebounds. But BJ, your dream of the 7-footers. Yes. I think that the Magic are somewhat 3/5 of the way there because Franz, Paolo, and Wendell Carter Jr., although they're not 7-footers like Wemby, those 3 big guys playing together, because they're all like 6'10, 6'11, 6'11. They've got some real good chemistry there between the 3 of them. And then I think it's just a case of figuring out the guards. I think they started with Fultz and Suggs, and then Cole Anthony came off the bench and gave them 20. But once they figure out the guard rotation, I think they've got something real special in Orlando. The Wizards got annihilated by the Pacers. They put up 120 points, but the Pacers put up 143. 8 Pacers in double digits. I was saying earlier in the summer, the Pacers are going to be one of my favorite teams to watch on League Pass.
Right.
They just fly in transition, B. They just fly in the pace that they're playing
Obi
with.
Toppin was a nice pickup for them.
But this is a thing now. You've got Obi Toppin and Miles Turner, who in transition are diving straight to the hoop, which is in turn collapsing the defense, and you've got your shooters open on the wings. They've just paid Aaron Nesmith. They've still got Buddy Hield. They've got Mathurin. They've got Tyrese Halliburton orchestrating the show over there. It's going to be a long season for the Wizards, though. It's going to be I was watching a pool isolation, and then it was Kuzma's turn for isolation. And each time it just ends up in a turnover and the pace is flying out in transition. The Hawks lost against the Hornets. BJ, I said I wasn't going to slander players. Trae Young, 4 of 19, 5 turnovers, minus 11 against the Charlotte Hornets. Against the Charlotte Hornets, respectfully.
That's tough. But it's early. It's early in the season.
I mean, Jalen Johnson coming off the bench, finally getting some minutes for the Hawks is a bright spot. He finally got into the rotation a bit more. 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals. But for the Hornets, Rozier had 24, PJ Washington had 25. But this kid, Brandon Miller, the second pick in the draft, he came alive in the 4th quarter. He came off the bench, which is rare for like a top draft pick on a rebuilding team to be coming off the bench. But he had 13 points, 8 of which were in the 4th quarter. He had a really nice step back 3 in the corner to get himself going. What do you think is the reason that they're bringing him off the bench rather than throwing him straight into the starting lineup? I think
it's better to bring these young guys off the bench. You're making a transition into the NBA. So I personally agree with that. You bring these guys in, you help them transition. I think it's easier as a younger player to play against the backups than it is to play against the starters, right? You're playing in an NBA game, but I think it's easier to play against the backup than playing against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for the majority of the minutes. So I think it's a nice transition for a young guy. He's a young player, and in due time, give him, let him go around the league for a little bit, 25, 30 games before you just insert him in there and kind of give him some preparation or give him some confidence before he starts playing against the best of the best, the starters in this league.
Well, BJ, in your career, when you're with the Bulls, 82 games, you'll start in 82 games. But when you made stops elsewhere, like with the Warriors, you were coming off the bench. I hear a lot of guys who come off the bench talk about how it's harder because you have to be on fire instantly. You don't get to ease yourself into the game and find the rhythm. You just have to come off the bench and make an impact right away. Do you think that's an impact, though, that's kind of an obstacle for these young players?
Well, I think it depends on each situation. So, it's funny you asking that question because I was thinking tonight, I was like, God, if I was playing in the NBA today, I think I would want to come off the bench.
Why?
I was saying that I was saying that today. I was just looking at the way the game is played. The starters, I was like, yeah, you play with if you're an elite player, meaning, a player where they're gonna call the plays for you, like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, for instance, tonight, you're gonna get your touches. Okay, but if you're Zubac
Robert Covington.
or Covington, it just depends on whether those guys want to pass that night or not.
Mm,
Okay. But if you're coming off as a starter, I mean, if you're coming off the bench, you're playing kind of in a system, right? You're actually seeing the coach's system being implemented because they demand that they ball movement, player movement. So I was like, you know what? In today's game, I would want to play that way. I would prefer to play that way than just to say to catch the ball and play and do isolation basketball. Um, I don't know if it's harder. I think it's an art. I think you master the art because mentally you have to be into the game, and as a starter you play yourself into the game.
hmm
So as a bench player, I learned to like, okay, oh, this is how the game is going to be played. This is how I have to play now.
Yeah.
So the engagement mentally into the game, I found much more challenging coming off the bench. And it requires much more focus because you don't get that 4 or 5 minute to kind of ease into it. You're like, you're coming in at the 3 4 minute mark and you got to insert yourself right into the game without warm-ups. So to me, that was much more challenging. So I said tonight, I was like, God, if I was playing today, I would prefer to come off the bench. I think that's who was at the game, and the reason I thought that because I saw Lou Williams at the game tonight,
Hey, sick man like Lou
and I
Will.
said, you know what, Lou Williams figured that out early in his career,
hmm
and he played for such a long time, and he mastered the art of staying engaged, and once you put him in, he had instant heat checks.
Yep.
So I was like, that to me was an art and coaches respect that because it is difficult because most guys want to play themselves into a situation, but you always want to, as we like to say as a professional, you want to work your minutes.
hmm
So Lou Williams mastered the art of saying, I'm not going to get 35 minutes, but I'm gonna work these 24 minutes, and he was very successful doing it. So it was good to see him at the game.
And shout out to Jamal Crawford as well. We got to get him back on the show.
Yeah,
Elsewhere,
yeah,
elsewhere in the league, the Raptors won a close one against the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves
yeah.
just ran out of time at the end.
Oh wow.
97 to 94. It was 97 to 91. Cat hit a big three, but the clock expired. Ant-Man had 26 points and 14 rebounds in what's going to be a big season for him. But OG, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. I'm excited to see the bidding war for OG at the trade deadline if he's not going to sign an extension with the Raptors. Because those 2 steals and 3 blocks, that's Defensive Player of the Year candidacy, my boy. Now let's get to the good one, BJ, because if you weren't at the game, you would have been going crazy. You would have been going crazy watching this next game. The Detroit Pistons 102, the Miami Heat 103.
Yeah,
The
my
Heat
guy
were up.
Cade had a big game.
The Heat were up huge to start the fourth, and the Pistons cut it all the way down. Cade, 30 points, 9 assists. Jalen Duren, 17 points, 14 rebounds. Osar Thompson became the youngest player in NBA history to have 5 blocks on his debut.
Oh
And
wow.
bear in mind, he's 6'7". The previous record was held by Sean Bradley, who was 7'6". And you were very close to winning this game. Cade just missed the three-pointer at the buzzer, which would have given you the win. But I like this young Pistons team. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I was interesting. I was following that game, as you know, and we were down big. Interesting the lineup, with Killian Hayes starting and Cade and Thompson and I think they had
Stewart,
Stewart and of
Duren.
course my guy Duren.
Yeah.
Duren I thought that was a great matchup, Duren and Bam. So but it was nice to see them be competitive. And that was nice to see them come out, play competitive. get some, good. They're in a game, and I like it when teams, especially the young teams, they start playing meaningful games that they feel they can win. So that was a great job for them in their debut game. Unfortunately, they lost, but I thought it was a good game for them on the road.
Well, we were just talking about coming off the bench. Hopefully, you can get Lou Will or Jamal Crawford to give Jaden Ivey some tips if he's going to be coming off the bench, because he was 1 from 7 from the field. He's obviously still a very young player in this league, but if they can turn him into an electric sixth man, then that could be the difference between winning and losing some of these games. Just a couple of his shots go in, they've won this game against Miami. The Cavs and the Nets, another close one. 114 to 113. The Cavs took the win. Donovan Mitchell hit a 3-pointer down the stretch with, I think, like 12 seconds to go. He bumped Cam Johnson to the floor, stepped back, cashed in a three. Then the Nets went down the other end. Cam Thomas, who had 36 points off the bench, seeing as this is the microwave episode. We talk about guys getting hot off the bench. Cam Thomas had 36 points off the bench. He missed a three that would have given him the win, and Cam Johnson missed a putback. But the thing that stood out to me is, I've always been saying the problem for the Cavaliers. I know what you think the problem for the Cavaliers is, as you've said on this show many times, that Mobley has to be the best player and da-da-da. But I've always said they had a hole at the three, because they would either have a player that could shoot and can't defend, or they'd have like Okoro in who can defend but can't shoot. Max Strus came in with 27 points and 12 rebounds. And, instead of being a guard, they've just slotted him in at the three. And I think that's a really good fit. And I'm excited to see what the Cavs can do this
Makes
year.
them extremely small with their big lineup. I was just looking at the size, but we'll see. I mean, because Donovan Mitchell is, he's only 6'2".
1 through 3, they're small, but then 4 and 5, they're huge. So it's like there's no middle ground.
It's an odd combination, but nice job, nice win. But again, I think Mobley only had 10 and 12 points or so. But we'll see. We'll see as the season's early.
Yeah, I mean, there's all those rumors about Donovan Mitchell being unhappy over there, and we'll see how long he stays with the team. I think it would help a guy like Mobley if Mitchell was to move on. Not that it would make the team better for Donovan Mitchell to leave, but just having that more touches available, more shots available. Mobley was 5 of 11 from the field, so 45%. What else happened in the NBA? The Pelicans 111 over the Grizzlies 104. Zion,
nice win.
Back healthy. He had 23 and 7, 12 of those points coming in the fourth quarter. CJ had 24. Desmond Bane trying to hold it down for Memphis with 31 points. Marcus Smart and Xavier Tillman had 17 apiece. Disappointing from Jaren Jackson Jr., a player of his caliber. He got the big extension. You would expect him now to step up. But the good news for the Memphis Grizzlies is there's only 24 games remaining without Ja Morant now. The first one's out of the way. And before you know it, he'll be back. The Thunder took a huge win against the Bulls. And now there's all these reports coming out as we speak about the Bulls having arguments after the game in their locker room. And I think I saw something about Billy Donovan. He went and asked the players, do you want me to intervene? And they said no. So he just let them go at it. But Shea had 31 points and 10 assists. Chet had his NBA debut. He only had 11 points. But it was a 1-point game.
So
in the third quarter.
They're already having arguments.
Oh, yeah. They're going to have to break up that team this season. It was a 1-point game in the third quarter. Then the OKC Thunder went on a 12-0 run. The highlight of the game for the Bulls, you'll probably see this you won't see it on social media, but I'll send it to you. Andre Drummond stole the ball from Chet, dribbled down the court in transition, broke Chet's ankles, and laid the ball in. That was the welcome to the league young fella moment of the night. But Zach LaVine really struggled. No points in the first half, even though he had 4 turnovers and 3 fouls. And then he had 16 points, 4 of 16 from the field in the second half. I think it's just a matter of time before they move to Rosen, before they move LaVine, and then they just try and rebuild, because they're stuck in this middle ground of not being bad enough to get good picks. Well, Orlando have their pick anyway from the Vucevic trade, but not being good enough to compete. I don't see that team surviving the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. My Bullies, I'm a little biased towards the Bulls, so hopefully they'll get it together, but it's not looking good. Going back to last season, and I don't know how this team is going to improve. I don't know how they're going to get better unless they really just say, we're going to really say, What are you going to do with DeRozan? Which will probably trigger Levine, which will probably trigger them into a rebuild. As a Bulls fan, you don't want to see that, but it looks like that's where it's going, or that's where it's heading right now.
Well, I think it's just really unfortunate with Lonzo Ball's injuries, because when they had Lonzo Ball at the point guard position, orchestrating everything, finding those guys in their spots, and also turning himself into a knockdown shooter, they were top of the East. Remember, they had that run up until about January where they were the top 1 or 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And then with the injuries to Ball and Caruso at the time, they kind of fell off. And now with Lonzo not returning, it's been like, this is his 3rd season not playing now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tough. The Kings took the 130-114 win over the Jazz. Malik Monk had a huge poster dunk. I need to send you that highlight as well. Harrison Barnes had 33 points. Sabonis had 22 and 12. Jazz will take some time to integrate the new pieces. But the game I wanted to talk to you about was the Spurs and the Mavs. Okay. 119-126. The Mavs took the win. Luka hit a huge step back down the stretch to ice it. But before the game, I was doing my Twitch stream, BJ. And I was saying on the stream, what I'm looking for in this game is Kyrie Irving to have the ball on the perimeter, Wembanyama to get switched onto him, and then Kyrie to call for an ISO. And then we'll see what happens, right? Because any other 7-footer in the NBA, that's barbecue chicken. But guess what? Wemby held his own against Kyrie Irving on the perimeter. So good signs. Luka, 33 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Kyrie had 22. Grant Williams had 17. Derek Lively, the rookie, had 16. On the other side, Wemby had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. And what was weird to me, though, BJ, because I was watching this game, you obviously in the arena, you couldn't see it. I was watching this game, and Wemby had a flurry of scoring with about like 5 minutes left in the 4th. And then his teammates just didn't get him the ball. It was very weird to watch. Is this like a purposeful tank? Is this his teammates already not wanting him to have the limelight? What was that about? Because it was a very close game, right? It was like a 1-possession game for like the last 3 minutes. Get the big fella the ball.
Yeah, it'll work itself out. He had like 15 points. And I remember after his first game in Summer League, everyone was like, oh, they'll figure it out. I mean, give him time.
I'm not worried about him. I'm wondering why his teammates wouldn't give him the ball.
Well, they're young too. I mean, it takes time. It's not like you just come in and, it just takes time to build to that. So they'll work it through.
All right. Well, that's what happened in the NBA tonight, or last night for us in the UK. Tomorrow night, or up tonight, BJ hasn't been asleep yet. That's why I'm saying tomorrow night. But we've only got 2 games. You want to give us quick predictions? I think these will be, the first one will be an easy pick. But the second one, I want to see what your take is.
Who's playing tomorrow?
The Sixers and the Bucks.
Oh, Bucks. That's not even...
James Harden will be traveling with the team, but he won't be playing. But the one I wanted to get your opinion on is the Suns and the Lakers.
That's a tough. I'm going to say the Lakers. I think LA is going to win because those guys have 2 nights here in LA early in the season. Mm-hmm. So when I say those guys, the Suns are, they've been here for a couple of days now.
See, BJ's in the hotel doing the podcast. Devin Booker and the crew, I don't know what they're doing tonight.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think the Lakers, but I would not be shocked if the Suns come out and get a win tomorrow. I think this is a great opportunity. Clearly, both of these teams are expected to be at the top or somewhere near the top in the Western Conference. So this is a meaningful game. But I expect the Lakers to win at home. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if the Suns came in here and got a win tomorrow night in crypto.com.
I think it's imperative the Lakers get a win tomorrow night or tonight. I saw this clip from a press conference of LeBron James sitting next to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis looks like, when you're in school and you get in trouble and then the teachers call your parents into the school and you're in the head teacher's office and they're telling your parents how badly behaved you are. I don't know if you can relate to this. I was a bad kid. they're telling you, and you just kind of sit there looking at the floor like you don't want to be there, and you're kind of embarrassed that you've let your parents down, and they're going to beat you when you get home. But this is what LeBron said in a press conference, which was interesting to me. I'm going to play it for you now.
LeBron after the game. The day we didn't win, but I think for me, my performance and what I did individually in the time that I was out there, I think I was productive. I think so. I was a +7 for the game, no turnovers, so I like the no turnovers more than anything. So
that was very weird to me, because your team's just lost in the game that you said you had circled all off season long, and in the press conference you're saying that you're happy with your own individual performance and basically blaming your teammates for losing the game. For a leader, for a king.
I'm gonna let you.
I'm just saying. I'm just
gonna let you handle that one.
The whole media is
81
coming.
games later, we won't be talking about that.
Well, hopefully we are. AD, he's going to get cooked by the media. Darvin Ham's very questionable coaching tactics in that game. And you're sitting there saying, well, I was happy with my performance. I didn't have any turnovers. I was a +7. It's your guys' fault we lost. So if the Lakers don't win again and they go on a little slide, let me get their schedule up here. If they go on a little slide to start this season, I don't know, because they got to face the Suns and then they got to face the Kings, that's a big game for the Kings because the Kings hate the Lakers almost as much as I do. Then they're facing the Magic. Then they've got, you could beat the Magic, but then you got to play the Clippers, and they've not beaten the Clippers in what feels like forever in the regular season. You could potentially 1, 2, 3 start 1-4 to begin the season, and then all of a sudden the media's going crazy.
And it's very possible for this team. It's very possible, but they have a nice team. The Lakers do, so I'm not too concerned. Tough schedule, opening up in Denver, then you playing against the Suns. So it's going to be tough for them. But, tomorrow night I think will be a big game. I think it'll be a big game, and it'll be a feature game. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yes, we will indeed, and we'll be here to break it all down for you. You're going to be at the arena for that one, right?
I'll be at the game tomorrow night, so I'm going back to back. I'm going back to back.
Okay, he's going back to back. Oh man, I'm jealous because I know it's going to be hype in there. BJ, appreciate you making time in your hotel suite, getting the podcast done. No excuses. I appreciate it. The hustle means a lot, and I know the fans at home appreciate it too. There's your roundup of tonight's NBA action. We got a lot more topics to discuss. We'll save them for later in the week, but I just wanted to whip around the NBA and get you up to speed with everything that's been going on tonight. Appreciate BJ. Enjoy tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night.
And get home safe after the game so we can record another episode. And enjoy your day in LA. What have you got planned in the daytime tomorrow?
Hey, you know what? Just got to get it in, get that work in, get it done, and get ready for the game.
Yes, sir. Make sure you guys listening, subscribe to the Hoop Genius podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever platform you get your podcasts on. And most importantly, get buckets.